Hey everybody, Roxabox90 here, back with another Magic the Gathering Top 10 Countdown. Today we're going to go through my top 10 favorite cards from the new Battle for Zendikar set, which is coming out really soon. Actually do a top 10 Commander Countdown, that will be coming as well. This is a little bit more expansive. It's just a look at the larger impact of the set and the cards that I think are the best / will make the most impact. Because of that, I don't really have major set criteria in terms of how the list is going to be built. It's mostly, from my perspective, the cards are the most impactful, the most universally used, cross formats, that kind of thought process, as well as the ones I just love the design of. I think they're fantastic. Let's run through some honorable mentions. I'm not going to discuss every single ally creature. I'm not going to discuss every single spot removal because we have so many really good ones that you can already see here. There's a whole bunch of them that I can't narrow them down far enough. Just know they're all really good. There's a lot of really good commons and uncommons, a lot of really good allies that I think could make an impact in those style decks. We also have Akum Firebird is following the classic Red Phoenix, but it gives that kind of pseudo card advantage, which is what the decks need for mono red to be even better. Woodland Wanderer has potential, but I still think it's just not there. It's value, but I don't think it's going to get there. I'm also avoiding the Manlands because we only have 2 of them so far, and while yes, they're both good and they'll probably have an impact, I don't think that they're making it into the list yet. When all of them have come out, we can properly analyze them, something to discuss. Ugin's Insight, it's Jason's Ingenuity again. Jason's Ingenuity is a fantastic card. This card is sorcery speed, though. I think that's going to definitely hurt a lot of players who want to run it, but given that the amount of ramp in this format, I think it's very functional for control decks to have it as a major card setup, card draw effect. Oran Reef Hydra, we'll discuss a lot about the Hardened Scales style deck because several cards in the list, the actual top 10 list, reference that. This card is not one of them, though. It may see a play in that deck kind of as a finisher, but it's not as good as some of the others. And this is Renewal. Landfall is going to be a thing. This card does seem a bit expensive, though, outside of control style builds. Even with the ramp factor, I think 6 mana is asking a bit much. It'll depend how effective the landfall creatures are and whether you can make a deck around them. And last up on the honorable mentions is Guardian of Tazim. This card was probably the last one cut from the list. There's a lot of really good cards in the set, and Guardian Tazim could very easily be a standard playable card in terms of recurable landfall that gives you full control of the board, but didn't make the list. All right, starting off the list, number 10, we have Bring to Light. This card is a very interesting design. It's very complicated wording. Mostly what it reads is you pay 5 mana, however colors above 2 or just 2 that you do, search your deck for a card of that value and cast it. Given how much incredible dual lands we have, how many fetches we have, how much land control we have, it's going to be very easy for 3/4 color decks to exist, and this card could very well see excellent play there because you realize it's casting for quote-unquote free. Maybe a little bit janky in terms of its mechanic. It may not quite make it, but I think it has a good shot. Number 9, we have Omnath Locus of Rage. Probably the most boring card in this list. It's just a huge, scary beater with the ramp factor pushing it to 11. There's plenty of stuff in Standard that could really push this card over the top. It's being 7 mana, I think, is a little bit rough, but it was designed to be an impactful mythic. With the amount of ramp around, it could very well be. I don't really have a lot to say about it, besides the fact it's just too good to not be on the list. Number 8, Munda Ambush Leader. I think this is a sleeper of the set. I said it before. This card, if allies can be a thing, this card is almost definitely going to help push that to be, I think, because its stats are fantastic and its rally is ridiculous in terms of setting yourself up. Ally decks are going to be creature heavy. This card's going to help push that to another level, and it's a super aggressive card. This could easily work in Mardu style decks. It could work in Boros aggressive decks. There's just whatever ally build there is. I really think this guy has a good shot of seeing play in those decks, and I think he may even be the piece to really push it over the top. Number 7, Drana Liberator of Malakir. This card is, well, it's fantastic. It works so well with things like Hangerback Walker, which are in Standard. It really could be a good piece for a Hardened Scales Abzan build. It works well with Mardu aggressive builds. She does a lot, and she's an ally, which I think you should not be underestimated in a Mardu style build with Munda, shall we say. Her turn 3, turn 4, him, they're attacking together. Should not be underestimated. I think she's very, very strong, very well costed, and the fact that she gets, she herself buffs because it's each attacking creature is really what pushes her there. But speaking of Hardened Scale decks, number 6, we have Undergrowth Champion. I think these decks, they're being a little bit hyped for sure, but they do seem, at least on paper and initial testing from people who are a lot smarter than me, they definitely seem to have a place to be and could very well be among the more powerful decks out there. Undergrowth Champion, I think, is a very solid piece for those decks. Of course, I think the biggest mistake people are making is you do not want to play him on turn 3. You want to play him on turn 4 when you can effectively protect him and or make him into a larger creature. I think playing him turn 3, tapping yourself out, is not gonna be as effective. I think with Mana Gorger Hydra, the question will be in of itself whether or not having no additional stats, whether he's good enough. I mean, he wins in combat. He wins against any kind of burn style removal, which a lot of the aggressive decks will use. In Standard, I think he definitely has a shot of seeing some good play, depending how well the deck actually pushes for. Number 5, we have Conduit of Ruin. This card I really love the design on. Yes, I don't think it's going to make a big splash in Modern, which is where some people have spoken about, but in Commander, he's unbelievable. And in Standard, I think he's going to be a core piece for aggressive decks that want to push for Eldrazi, just because if you ramp into him, he's a 5/5 body, nothing to laugh at. He gives you the next creature you need, which if you realize, you play him, he searches up Ulamog, who's 10 mana, you draw Ulamog, and you can cast Ulamog for 8. And that's just Ulamog. You can actually literally cast the Void Winnower the next turn. So unless he's immediately dealt with, he seems to be that linchpin to kind of push you over the top to get to that peak and be able to reach the more expensive Eldrazi. In Standard for sure. Commander, also fantastic card against in so many decks. Number 4, I am tying this between Ulamog and Void Winnower because I think both are powerful enough to be that ultimate piece, or maybe even in the same deck. They're both ridiculously powerful cards. Ulamog is the more powerful, obviously, because of its insane board impact just by hitting play. Void Winnower, though, I wouldn't discount. It could very well see a lot of play as well. I think both are fantastic targets. They're both Reanimator targets, realize, as well, if that becomes possible. And they work well in many formats. The design as well on Void Winnower, I think, is one of the coolest flavor / weirdness designs they've made in a while Ulamog is less interesting but insanely powerful. Number 3, Ob Nixilis Reignited. Not much to say. This walker is very balanced, not quite as powerful as the next 2 cards in terms of its major impact, but I definitely think that we saw Vraska seeing play. This guy I think is a better Vraska, especially in the current format. I think he's very well designed and he will see play in a few formats. Number 2, we have Kiora, Master of Deaths. Why the fact that a 2-color Planeswalker beats Ob Nixilis? I think it's because she's 4 mana and because all of her abilities are majorly relevant in the kind of deck she'll be pushed for, which is any kind of ramp-heavy creature deck. Being able to ramp yourself up, untap a creature as protection, realize you're effectively drawing, and you could draw a land. You're drawing cards is the -2 in the style deck you build, and the -8 is a huge finisher. She's incredibly costed, very easy to deal with the mana in Standard environment, and I think in general, I think she even has major play potential in other formats as well outside of the Standard arena. And number 1, Gideon, Ally of Zendikar. I may get some flack for this, but when I first spoiled him, I thought, yep, he's pretty good. He seems really good, but I want to see the rest of the set before I can make up my mind, and I think Gideon at the end of the day is the best card in terms of its immediate impact. I think there's a reason that he's pre-selling out so quickly and that he's so good. He upticks as an ally creature. He pushes ally decks, he pushes token decks. Yes, he does conflict a little with Kytheon, but you could easily drop him on turn 4, -4 him to get your emblem to push through your tokens. You don't even need him in and of himself, and then Kytheon flips. He could be a huge finisher for aggressive token decks. He works incredibly well with allies. I mean, what he most reminds me of is, to be honest, he reminds me of Xenagos with an emblem effect on top of it. And Xenagos is really good, but realize he's not as heavily mana twisted. He could work very well in very aggressive 2-color style builds or even 1-color style builds. And he upticks. He's just so much win in one card. There's no question he's going to see play in Standard. He could potentially even see play in Modern builds, maybe not tier 1 decks, but he could definitely see some flexibility as compared, comparing him with Elspeth, I think is not too far a reach for Modern. And in other formats as well, like he's a fine card. I think he's going to probably make the biggest splash immediately. Whether or not he stays there because the other walkers and other cards in the set are really good, we'll have to see. So those are my top 10 Battle for Zendikar cards. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Please put your thoughts down below in the comment section. And if you enjoyed the video, then please tap the like button if you're new to the channel. Check in and subscribe. Stay tuned for the top 10 Commander coming to you real soon. And as always, Roxbox90 signing out. I'll see you guys next time.